Graduates. Thank you. Thank you, Naomi. Yeah, welcome everyone to our Graduate Open series. Today we're going to be looking at the master's programs in the Department of Medical Physics and Biomedical Engineering here at UCL. My name's Billy Dennis. I am the Postgraduate Programs Director, and I also lead on one of the MSc programs by distance learning. We've got with us today the full postgraduate team. So all the academics that lead programs here in the department and a couple of others who also support the programs and are involved with the teaching. And we're going to hopefully today show you what's in our programs, learn a little bit more about why you might want to study one of the master's courses with us, show you some samples of the different things that we do, and learn a little bit about the department. Then at the end, you'll have a chance to ask some questions. And we've also got one of our students from last year who's joining us who we'll interview, and you can ask questions to them as well to get a bit of a student view of how the courses work here in the department. So quickly moving on to who we've got here today with myself. I'll quickly go around. Perhaps everyone could just sign and say hello, turn on your microphone as I go through. So that's myself, Billy Dennis. We've got Dr. Rob Moss, who leads our radiation physics stream of physics and engineering and medicine. Rob.
Hi everyone. Hi, nice to meet you.
We've got Dr. Henry Lancashire, who's the biomedical engineering and medical imaging stream lead for physics and engineering and medicine. Henry.
Good afternoon, everyone.
We've also got Professor Marinko Saranik, who's here as the MRes tutor.
Hello, everybody. Looking forward to chatting today.
We've also got here on this list, I've put Professor Matt Clarkson here because he is the program lead normally for the medical robotics and AI course. He's actually on a sabbatical this year, so that is being covered by someone else. But if you're joining the program, you may encounter Matt again next year. So to replace them this year is Dr. Evans Mazamenos. Evans, hi.
Good afternoon, everyone. Very pleasure to be here.
We've also got Professor Andre Altman, who is the MSc lead for the AI and medical imaging course.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
And then we've got Dr. Katerina Vega, who is one of the more important people who doesn't run the program in the department because she leads the research projects for master's students, so major part of every master's year. So Katerina.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
And then finally, we've got Professor Ben Hall, who is lead of the Computational Cancer MSc as well.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Great. So yeah, with introductions done, I'll just go through and give you a quick overview of our department. So UCL Medical Physics and Biomedical Engineering has a long history, actually. It goes back to one of the oldest medical physics departments in the world and in the UK, dating from when it was based at the Middlesex Hospital. Middlesex Hospital then merged shortly afterwards into the formation of the new hospital at UCLH. But original X-ray devices were operating just 1 year after the X-ray was discovered at the Middlesex Hospital. And we've also got a history going in academia as well with Sidney Russ, who was the first hospital physicist in the world, thought to be at least. He was also the first medical physics professor, and the Joel professorship that he founded is still a part of our department, led by Professor Robert Speller, and there's a yearly Joel lecture, which is a very interesting highlight of the calendar in the department as well. So that's some of the history of us with academic and in our subject area. We are a subject and a department of many subjects, really. We interface between many different areas, between engineering and physics and computer science, as well as medicine, biology. Our department's made up of chemists, of veterinary scientists. There's a huge range, actually, all looking to apply their own expertise into the medical related field. But broadly, we're separated into sort of two categories, which is medical imaging and medical therapies and devices. So looking at diagnostics or treatments using medical technology of various kinds. Our department has got around 50 permanent academic staff, around 50 to 60 postdoctoral researchers, so these are research staff. We've also got 170 PhD students, and you can see from that our research profile is quite large, so research is a major focus of the department. We've also got 35 professional services staff and lab technicians who support the work of everyone in the department. And then you guys, hopefully looking to join the students in future years. We've got around 500 undergraduate students each year and roughly around 100 postgraduate taught students and master's students as well. Our department strengths, we are heavily focused in our research, and many of the researchers in our department are world leading and do research that is world leading as well. Another advantage is as a department, we strive to know our students well. Most of our classes are on the order of 30 to 50 students. We don't do enormous courses with huge cohorts that is not so personal. We know our students, we supervise our students, and we speak to them regularly. And so you'll gain the benefit of that if you join our programs. The final strength for us is because we're based here in London, as well as having excellent research, we also have access to the world-leading London hospitals that have excellent ties into the medical field. So we're looking at developing medical technologies. It's important to have that applied aspects right nearby, and there's many local hospitals that allow us to conduct our research and our studies together with. So our department's research, there's a lot of research groups. As I said, we're a subject with many different specialties overall here. So you can pretty much find a field that will fit your interests, we hope. Some of the groups that you'll see here are larger than others, some of them smaller than others. Really, the list is not defined really to a single subject. Many of our researchers are actually present in multiple of these groups here as well. We like to crossbreed, we like to mix and share different styles of research. But we've got expertise in medical imaging of all the different imaging modalities, all the way down to electron microscopy. There's a radiation physics expertise in our department as well, looking at cancer therapies, but also imaging with X-rays and nuclear methods and X-ray diffraction. We've got a large expertise with computing as well that relates across all the modalities, some of them focused into surgery or perhaps into treatment with radiotherapy, with cancer methods. We've got expertise in implanted devices, so taking monitoring the human body in various different ways, be it electrical signals or oxygen signals. There's a large part there. And then finally, we've also got groups that look specifically at surgical robotics and looking at using AI in healthcare applications as well. Our collaborators, I mentioned briefly before, we've got access to many different groups here in London, just largely because of our location. There are also research groups that are based throughout UCL, collaborative groups that are looking to bring together people of different subjects. And this includes things like the Institute of Healthcare Engineering, which crosses into mechanical engineering and many other engineering faculties here at UCL. There's the Hawkes Institute, which is a collaboration between our own department and the Department of Computer Science. There's RadNet from the City of London, which again is looking at cancer therapies combined with the medical school and various other groups looking at biology as well as cancer treatments using radiotherapy and proton therapy. And there's a massive range there. As well as that, you've got the list of local hospitals that we do a lot of work with. So research projects are conducted in collaboration with these, and sometimes, depending on your subject, you might be lectured by people from these institutions as well, including UCLH, but also the Great Ormond Street Hospital, Moorfields Eye Hospital, and a range of the different specialties. London is a real hub of excellent healthcare, and we are at the middle of that as well. And you can see there's other institutions that we also work a lot with outside. On top of that, another interest for many students will be with our industry links. The medical industry and the medical device industry in particular has a wide range of different sizes of companies that you might consider working with. We have our own companies that have spun out of research from our department, such as Gower Labs and Endomag. But there are also collaborations with many other healthcare firms, including very large healthcare firms like Varian, like Nikon, like Panoramic, but also some slightly smaller ones that are a bit more specialized and look at other things. And this is just an example of some of the links that we have with industry that you might have a chance to collaborate with as well. So before I pass over to our program leads to talk about the MSc programs and the master's programs that they lead, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the programs as a whole. I've said we're many subjects in one, but we probably have specialisms that focus into three main areas overall. either in physics or in engineering or in computing. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't do all three of them. In fact, every course in the department is a mixture of all of these, but the focus is generally more on one than the other. So if you're a physicist, you might be looking at the radiation physics streams or the distance learning stream, which is focused in radiation physics as well. If you're interested in engineering, then you might look at the biomedical engineering and medical imaging route of the physics and engineering and medicine. And then the computing, if you've got much more computing expertise and interested in applying that, then you've got the MSc Medical Robotics and AI, you've got the AI and Medical Imaging program, and the new MSc in Computational Cancer that's coming as well. Finally, at the end, the MRes program in the department at the bottom there, that's the department aimed at research careers and for students that want to go into research. It's pretty flexible. Marinko's going to talk about that later, but it allows you to actually specialize wherever you like across the department. So without further ado, I'm going to pass on to our first program lead, which is Dr. Rob Moss, who's going to talk about the MSc Physics and Engineering and Medicine first. Rob.
Yeah, thanks, Billy. Thanks for the handover. I'm going to talk about our MSc in Physics and Engineering in Medicine. You may also hear it called the PEM program, particularly if you come and study with us. So Physics and Engineering in Medicine is an interdisciplinary and rapidly developing field. The purpose of this degree is to teach kind of underpinning knowledge in order to understand how medical technologies work, and then to apply that knowledge to clinical treatments and diagnostics. This MSc is a key qualification for anyone who wants to go and work in a hospital, either as a clinical scientist or a clinical engineer. Although I would say that a lot of our graduates do go on to do very successful careers in many other areas as well. You'll see from the diagram on the left there that there are three specialist routes to choose between. We won't go over that diagram in detail, but on the next couple of slides, we'll give a bit more detail on those routes. So the radiation physics route has got two possible options. One of them is what we call the IPEM accredited route, and this has a fixed curriculum which teaches a standardized set of skills. The unaccredited route allows for flexibility and sort of opportunities to explore other related or adjacent areas. And so those on the unaccredited route will be able to choose one optional module from the list on the right-hand side. The program is designed to develop essential skills in radiation physics within the context of medical applications. And that fundamental knowledge is delivered in the modules that are indicated here in orange, and then apply that knowledge to kind of application-specific content that is delivered in the green modules. And in the middle there, you'll see there's a box so that all students will undertake some research training during their MSc via the research project, which is a piece of independent research, and also through the medical device enterprise scenario module, which includes the opportunity to do some group work. So I have mentioned about this IPEM accreditation. So just to sort of give a bit more detail there, IPEM is the Institute of Physics and Engineering in Medicine, and it is the learned society for hospital physicists and engineers. Our radiation physics program is accredited by IPEM, which indicates that it meets the high standards for knowledge and training that is required by these professionals. Our accreditation is also recognised globally as a mark of quality, and it's highly advantageous for anyone who wanting to pursue a career in clinical science, either through the NHS scientist training program or through another route. So I wanted to just add this slide in to give a bit of an example of the kinds of people that would join the program and their motivation for it. You can see here on the top line that Sally, she joins our program. She has an interest in cancer radiotherapy. So she chooses to do the accredited radiation physics route. She has no options on that route, but she's really dedicated, and she goes on to do a job as a hospital clinical scientist. Kevin, on the other hand, he's just more broadly interested in kind of imaging technologies. And Kevin chooses to do the unaccredited route. And the reason for this is that it gives him a bit more flexibility to do a module in an adjacent subject. You know, for example, he's more interested in doing kind of medical image analysis. And Kevin then leaves us and goes and does a job in a medtech company on ultrasound system development. And so whilst those two careers there are very medically focused, people leave our program and they go and do all sorts of careers because, you know, they will develop skills that are highly sought after, very transferable, and they'll routinely find jobs in other fields as well. So the next slide then is I'm going to pass on over to Henry Lancashire, who will talk to you about the physics and engineering medicine, biomedical engineering route. Thanks.
Thank you, Rob. The biomedical engineering and medical imaging route, or BEME route, of the Physics and Engineering and Medicine MSc is a flexible program that covers the foundations and principles of biomedical engineering and medical physics applied to modern medicine. This includes the fundamentals and applied research in medical imaging, medical engineering, and medical computing. Students on this route take a core set of modules shown here, comprising basic understanding of medical imaging and also of medical electronics and biomedical engineering. But also students take 2 optional modules, which can encompass topics such as medical computing, biomedical engineering, orthopedics, implanted devices, and computer-assisted surgery. Like all of our MSc students, students on the BEME route also take a research project, and as part of the BEME route, students take part in the medical device enterprise scenario. Students on the BEME route have a wide range of different options and therefore come with a wide range of interests and a wide range of routes after their degree. For example, students like Leonora, who are interested in medical device engineering, might choose modules associated with that and carry on to work in biomedical engineering industry. Students such as Arnaud, with interest in clinical engineering, perhaps within the NHS, might focus on more appropriate modules there. And students such as Li Wei, with an interest in medical computing, but perhaps not the background to go into one of our medical computing MScs, could take specific modules targeted for medical computing. Students with a BEME degree go on to a wide range of different careers across not only healthcare and academia, but also industry, including financial services and law conversions. I'll now hand back to Billy Dennis, who will explain about our distance learning program.
Great, thank you, Henry. Yeah, very briefly, I'll just talk about the distance learning program. So this is a route of the MSc that replicates the radiation physics IPEM accredited stream, except it's available online to study remotely from anywhere around the world. We've actually got another talk that's happening next week where I'll go into the more details about how exactly this works. Many students that are new to the course won't have studied by distance learning before. It's more than just reading or watching videos. It's based around exactly the same materials as you would study on campus, but with extra structures, extra tutorials, extra exercises to try and just make sure that you're studying and getting the help that you need throughout the year. You don't have the opportunity to knock on the doors of academics in the department because maybe you live around the world or you live elsewhere. Most students who study it are either they need flexibility because they can't come to London, or they need flexibility because they're currently working in a job and can't come to the lectures at the times they might be. So we get students based in the UK here who might work in hospital environments. It's a really good opportunity for them to get their training that they need for their clinical scientist training that we talked about before, while still working in those jobs. But we'll talk more about this later next week. If you're interested, then sign up for that talk separately. Students also are not isolated. They're encouraged to be part of the campus cohort here as well. So as part of the medical device enterprise, which is the group project module, students who are distance learning students join in that one as well. Every group has distance learning students, so we're used to accommodating them. And yeah, hopefully you become part of the community as well. It's worth saying that you don't have to. If you're available to come to campus, then you can mix up as well. So a few things on that one. But yeah, more details next week for the distance learning MSc. And then I'll pass on next to our next MSc, which is with Andre Altman, who's going to talk about artificial intelligence and medical imaging.
Yeah, thank you, Billy, for the introduction. So this is the MSc for AI and medical imaging, and we've launched it a few years ago to meet the demand for rapid growth in the AI and healthcare sector. So there's growing demand by employers for employees being equipped, knowing about artificial intelligence and how to apply this, especially to medical imaging. Like our other programs, it's actually also a great starting point for further doctoral studies. And it is very closely tied to the AI research that's going on at the Hawks Institute, which was mentioned earlier, which is a collaboration between our department and the computer science department. And Hawks Institute incorporates a lot of research in medical image computing, so it's AI and medical image computing, and also for surgical interventional sciences. Next slide. Yeah, thank you. Let's have a look at what's the structure of this program. So this is one of the more computationally focused programs. So we have a lot of modules in the core part that are focusing on programming foundations and on machine learning and on artificial intelligence and also information processing for medical images. So there's all the things that you need to work with medical imaging data. So this program is called AI and Medical Imaging. So the other part of the core structure is also our medical imaging lectures that you take together with the students that are taking the physics MSc. So in term one, for instance, you will have to take biomedical ultrasound, but for term two, you can actually decide to either do MRI and biomedical optics or imaging with ionizing radiation, or you can take both of them. That's also possible. Another core component is the research project, of course, which is, where you pick a project that is applying AI to medical imaging data. You also have an option to join the medical device enterprise scenario, and again, be in contact with students from the other degrees. And overall, over the 1-year course, you have one optional module for term one and one optional module for term two. Then this can either be, depending on your interests, more AI-heavy modules, for instance, like computational MRI and computational modeling for biomedical imaging. But this, as I mentioned before, can also be the other medical imaging module that you haven't picked as part of your compulsory selection. So overall, this project or this MSc equips you with skills in AI and how they're applied to complex medical imaging data, and also the background on how those images are generated and what they're used for. And again, with our other programs, with these skills, you're very well equipped to enter various ranges of employment, so from finance to general AI tech companies, and of course, yeah, a research path as well. And with this, I pass back to Billy.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. Okay, our next program to review is the MSc Medical Robotics and AI. So, Evans, are you available?
Thank you, Billy, and hello, everyone. So, this is the 6th year that we're running this MSc on medical robotics and artificial intelligence. And the main motivation behind developing this program is that these two technologies are now extremely present in modern healthcare. So, both robotic systems and intelligent devices driven by artificial intelligence are becoming more and more prevalent in modern healthcare. These represent two technologies which are a strategic priority for the NHS and more broadly for the UK government. And the main theoretical component is to apply concepts from computer science and engineering to healthcare. The MSc program is a direct result of the research that we're doing at UCL at the two research centers mentioned, VICE and CIMIC, where we have been working in the space of robotics and artificial intelligence in medicine, and also with a particular focus in interventions in surgery for a while now. So this expertise, this knowledge that we have accumulated at UCL over the years was our main motivation from developing the first medical robotics MSc course in the country. And what is extremely interesting is that robotic devices are complex. There is a considerable amount of specialty required to develop robotics devices for any application, but specifically for healthcare. So what the core focus of this program is to teach our MSc students to understand the use of devices, the use of robotic systems, as well as the fundamental concepts behind developing and driving these systems for healthcare purposes. So having a closer look at the modules that are offered as part of the MSc in Medical Robotics and AI, these are broadly categorized into robotic-related courses and more computationally artificial intelligence-related courses. So we are collaborating with the UCL Computer Science department, and some of the courses here are offered as part of the Robotics and AI program at Computer Science. Students are also receive first-hand experience from working on bleeding-edge research applications through their research projects, which are most of the time designed around ongoing research activities within our department. They're also given the opportunity to work on a medical device enterprise scenario. And then the optional modules are again covering the two main technological areas of robotics and AI, giving students opportunity to deepen their knowledge and understanding of such systems. For example, there are core robotics from UCL Computer Science modules with focus on computer vision and navigation, and then there are further AI-based models, like how we can apply this kind of technology, how we can apply the computational analysis specifically for surgical and therapeutical intervention. The healthcare areas that we're targeting cover the entire spectrum of healthcare delivery, all the way from diagnosis to treatment, and also follow-up monitoring. So moving on to the next program. It is, I believe, a new program on computational cancer, and I think Ben is the person to.
Yes, thank you very much, Evans. So yes, MSc Computational Cancer is launching next year, and it's driven by a transformation that's happening in cancer research. And that transformation has been driven by data science and computational analysis. The purpose of this new MSc is to span the huge range of different research data science tools in cancer and create a new generation of cancer data scientists. The course itself is going to span huge numbers of different topics, including computational pathology, digital twins, and of course AI. And really the drive here is to introduce cancer and cancer science through the lens of computational biology. So we want to present the roots and roles of mathematical analysis in understanding the kind of complex data sets and the complex problems that arise from this multifaceted disease. This is a joint program with the Cancer Institute. So by engaging with this program, you're going to be taking the best insights in computation and engineering from our department, alongside the leading insights from clinicians and academics in UCL's Cancer Institute. The program itself builds fundamental skills in the first term, teaching you about the key insights into cancer biology and therapy. Alongside that, how to handle cancer data, how to build basic computational models, and analyze cancer dynamics. Later in the course, you'll engage in different options reflecting your interests and your own specializations. So you can go down AI routes offered by our departments indicated in green, or you can be looking at, in blue, or you can be looking at more computational modules in our department indicated in blue. Finally, you also engage in a research project that will have you working on real cancer data problems, working with experts in the field, and being able to specialize even further. This course will give you the skills that are being looked for in large areas of the AI industry in terms of cancer data science, health data science, and allow you to really engage in research in academia, in industry, in tech. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ben. And then finally, we'll finish up with the MRes in medical physics and biomedical engineering. So that's the research master's program, Marinko.
Yeah, all right. So thank you. So the MRes is a little bit different than the other MSc courses in that it is research focused. As Billy has mentioned earlier, the MRes does not concentrate on a specific topic, but rather it can focus on any of the topics across the breadth of the department. So that's spanning everything from medical physics, biomedical engineering, computing, and more. So as with the other MSc courses, the MRes can help prepare you for a career in industry. However, specifically, the MRes is meant to give students a deeper experience that's focused in research. And this is getting embedded into a research lab and potentially leading and helping prepare a student for a doctoral degree. So let's focus a little bit more on the details of the MRes. And the biggest difference here is the research project compared to the MSc courses. The MRes project is weighted about twice as much, and that means you can guess it's going to be about twice as much work. Conversely, to balance that out, there is less work in modules, approximately half the number of modules, so just 4. Because of the wide range of topics that the MRes project can cover, there are no specific modules that are required as part of the MRes. Instead, the students can pick the modules that will best complement their research project. And in fact, one of the modules can even be taken outside of the department. So to discuss the research projects, we can move on to the next speaker and the next slide.
Great, thank you, Marinko. So yeah, we've got with us today the module organizer for the Master's Research Projects, which is Katerina Vega. Katerina, would you like to explain how Master's projects work?
Yeah, thank you, Billy. Thanks, Marinko. Yeah, so I'm here to give you a bit of a glimpse into the research projects because they actually are probably the most important module of your degrees. And they also tend to be the favorite module for the students that come and study in the department. So the idea of the research projects really is that you'll be seeking to answer a question that has never been answered before. And so the idea is to have a novel contribution to science. And really here in the department, one of the strengths that we have with our projects is that they tend not to be just educational purpose, but also really embed you into the research settings and feel like a true researcher will feel working day to day as a professional researcher. So as part of the projects, you will be embedded in a research group and see how it feels to work within a world-class research environments. You'll be supervised by at least 2 supervisors that will be experienced in the fields that your research project is in. And really, it's an opportunity to go deep into a specific topic and become really the expert in a very small field of your studies, while the degree overall gives you a bit of a wider understanding. The projects is really narrowing it down to something very particular. And they are an opportunity to develop a lot of transferable skills. So as part of your projects, you'll have to collect data, analyze this data, but also learn how to communicate it to the scientific community through your final report, but also in the form of talks and poster events. And really, the important part of these projects is that they are an opportunity to push yourselves, and really they are driven by the student, and they lead you to achieve as much as you put into it, and take a lot of ownership of the projects that you're doing. Billy, can we move? So I can tell you a bit about the types of projects that we have. They spawn different types of projects. They can be computational, theoretical, or experimental. And really, they cover a lot of topics aligned with the different research groups that we have in the department, but also in collaboration with other departments and other collaborators, for example, external hospitals. So as Bill is going through, we have different projects looking, for example, at optimizing parameters for X-ray radiography, or the next one will be using AI to segment blood vessels in the lung. The next is an example of working within the radiotherapy world, where we're looking at using optical imaging to set up patients for treatment. The next is more on the robotics side, where they looking at tracking needle insertions in a way that is safe and compatible with MRI. The next is trying to build models of how different knees may look like on the population. And the final one is characterizing systems for very fine detail imaging using CT. So I hope this gives you an idea of the breadth of research topics and where different research projects can be done. And I'll pass it back to Billy. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Katerina. I'll just mention one other thing because it's been mentioned a couple of times, which is the medical device enterprise scenario, which is another research project really that you do in a group instead. And the idea is that you are asked to design a medical device that can solve a particular problem that we set for you. So you go away in your student groups, you're put into groups of 6 or 7. It'll include students from many different backgrounds, including from medical physics, maybe some robotics people, some mechanical engineers, electronic engineers, computer scientists. There'll be medical guys in the background as well. We mix up the groups to give everyone a nice range of different skills, which sort of replicates the idea of a real medical device company. And then we say, please invent a medical device for us and make a business plan that can potentially take it to market. And that's what the module's about. So the ideal outcome would be that a student's proposal for their business plan, the final submission, is something they could take to an investor and say, here you go, here's the medical device, let's go and make it now. So they'll need to consider everything. They'll need to consider the design, the materials, the cost of manufacture, the cost of the materials. They'll need to consider the regulations to make sure that it's safe for patients and that it's ethical to use. They might need to consider testing the medical device, and they might consider things like advertising as well. So it's an rounded project. Gives you a chance to really apply yourself, and it's student led. So it's up to you guys to decide where you want to go. So using all the skills that you've learned across all the other master's modules into this to come up with a fantastic research idea for yourself. And here's some examples of the ones that we've had in previous years. The one on the bed left is a bed with different pistons in it that can move up and down to adjust the pressure at the various parts. And that was designed for patients that are infirm, unable to really move out of their bed, that sometimes develop bed sores where pressure builds up on one area for too long. Very damaging and it takes a very long time to heal and treat. Regularly need these wounds to be cleaned. Very expensive, so they designed a bed that could adjust to that and to reload all the pressures in different directions. The middle there is what's called an auto commode. So that's a toilet that takes itself to a patient who's unable to get to the toilet themselves. A robotic device that analyzes the environment and can take itself from the cleaning station and the real toilet to the patient's room and back again when they need it. Again, staff in hospitals are not always available to be there if a patient needs to use the toilet. And even this one on the right here, which was looking at items to help for visual or hearing impairment, and this is essentially a mouse that you could scan over a book or any other written text, and it would translate it on these little buttons on top of the mouse into Braille. So little bumps that move up and down for those who are blind that might understand or be able to read Braille. So really nice devices there from previous years. But this is one of the outputs that you'll have, particularly if you're on the physics and engineering and medicine course, but as an option on most of the others as well. If you'd like a little taster of any of the other parts of our course, there's two things that we might encourage you to have a look at here, and the QR codes on the screen currently. I'd recommend you take a little the link from those. One of them is a small lecture taster from our professor of magnetic resonance imaging physics, which is Professor Karen Schmoily. A nice introduction to her MRI course. Another thing you might consider is the department podcast called Röntgen's Radio. A number of the people on this call have actually been interviewed for it. Katerina, I know, had an episode. Rob's had an episode. This is just a nice discussion, essentially, podcast that will discuss on fairly easily understood terms of what their research is about. Highly recommended. Again, the link for that's there. It's on SoundCloud or Apple Podcasts if you want to look that up. I'll just finish with a couple of bits to describe how studying works at UCL generally. What can you expect from studying with us? A typical week you would have on the masters would be around 12 to 16 hours of lectures or taught sessions. You're expected to spend between 10 and 15 hours on your research project a week. That can vary week to week and based on the project you're doing. You'll also get problem-based learning classes depending on the modules you're taking as well. And then once a week, you'd be expected to meet your research supervisor or your personal tutor to have some regular interaction there as well. Tutors, every postgraduate student in the department has a tutor group, and the tutors are there to provide you pastoral care. So they'll help you plan your studies if you're struggling, if you just want tips. They'll help you with research ideas potentially, and they can look at supporting you with future career planning as well. So many people in our department, if you're looking for clinical scientist advice, many people have actually got that clinical scientist training already. They can give you advice on how to follow those career paths. And certainly if you've got an interest in research careers, then there's lots of advice that you can take there as well. The tutor groups, if you're on PEM, will match the same enterprise groups that you have otherwise. So hopefully you're building a nice community, working together on that group project module. And then you've also got the personal tutor groups, which are the same groups. So you get to know that little tutor group quite nicely over the year. Assessments in our department, there are exams. In our department, all exams are in term 3, which is in May and April. We don't do January exams currently. There are a mix of online exams, which are open book, and in-person exams that are invigilated, usually in the Excel Centre in East London. So yeah, there's a range in there. Depending on the module you're taking, you'll have coursework of various kinds. For the physics and engineering modules, that's usually about 20% of the module worth is in a coursework task, and that might be some problems, or it might be a lab or a write-up of some kind of report. For more computing-focused modules, they tend to have a higher percentage that are coursework rather than in the timed exam at the end of the year. What can we do when I graduate? Well, yeah, we want you to, the purpose of any master's degree is for you to specialize into a subject that hopefully develops your career. So literally anything, but there are as many more pieces of advice we can give you about this. What I will just say at the end here is to explain to you how good the UCL engineering careers team are. They can give you very specific advice, help you with applications. They can help you find jobs. There's lots of things there that they are very good at, and we're keen for you guys to make use of them as well. Very briefly, minimum entry requirements for our master's programs is generally a 2-1 of a UK's bachelor's degree, ideally in a subject that relates to the degree that you're taking, or overseas equivalent of that subject as well. If you want to see the overseas equivalent, then you can look in the graduate prospectus, and there's a little drop-down window that tells you can pick your country where you took your undergraduate degree, and it'll tell you what the equivalent qualification is. If you've got a 2-2, there is a possibility, given if you have suitable other experience that benefits your application, then we can consider you as well. But that will be on a case-by-case basis. So if you've got any questions, then do send an email to the inbox that's on the prospectus website. And then finally here, finance is something to think about. The course fees are on the screen. You can see here. If you're looking for financing for yourself, there's two things you might consider. If you're a UK-based student, then there's the government UK postgraduate loans that can help support your funds for your studies. And then there's also the UCL scholarships, which are available. There's a range of these different scholarships. I will just say at this point that they usually have deadlines to apply for that are not too dissimilar to our application deadlines. So have a look at those deadlines. If you're thinking about applying for a scholarship, then you'll need to look that up as part of your application. Don't leave it until you joined us, basically. By then it's too late. So if you're looking for a scholarship, try to apply for those early, basically. And UCL Student Life. So UCL's right in the middle of London. That's the nice thing as well. You are here for your studies, but there's a really great thriving social community in the student body. So there's sports clubs, there's cultural clubs, there's arts clubs, there's specific subject clubs as well. The Med Tech Society, and there's the various business societies as well that you might consider joining as a UCL student. You've got access to all of that. And we're in central London, so we're, one of the busiest parts of London. We're right in the West End. We're in the museum district, so you can go to the various London museums that are right next door. There's lots of opportunity for good social interaction here at UCL as well. And we've even got theatre on campus, the Bloomsbury Theatre, which often has shows and comedians and various other bits and pieces you can come and see live. There's also a really excellent, thriving volunteers unit as well. So if you're interested in volunteering for charities or for various UCL clubs, and particularly in healthcare, there's plenty of opportunities there as well. So I recommend you have a look for those. And then finally, some links if you want to stay in touch with us. The link tree is in the QR code on the right there, but there's a number of other things that we've already spoken about. But there's opportunities for you to stay in touch here as well. And then finally, we are going to have time now for some questions, and I'm going to speak to one of our current students. But if you've got any feedback that you'd like to give us after this session, then finally, there's one more QR code here. I think Naomi will also put the link for us in the chat at the same time. But for now, Vanshika, are you there? Do you mind if we have a little conversation just to start off the questions, perhaps?
Hi, yep, I'm here. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Okay.
So just to introduce her, Vanshika is a student that's just finished the master's program with us. She studied with us last year. She was on the Physics and Engineering and Medicine MSc program. Vanshika, would you mind telling us a bit about yourself and why did you decide to study the master's with us first?
Yeah, of course. So I guess for a little bit of background, I did my undergrad in physics and astronomy. And I guess my general motivation for choosing medical physics as a whole was just I wanted to, I've loved physics, but I wanted to do something that's a bit more applied and something that I can see the outcomes realized within my lifetime, unlike pure physics. So yeah, that's why I chose the field in general. And then UCL, I guess of all the courses I looked around in the UK, I personally really liked that it had the biggest variety of research groups. So before coming in, I knew I was interested in the field, but not necessarily which part of the field. So I really liked that it wasn't just, focusing on one thing. It had a lot of different options and people that I could learn from. And then, like you said, it was also a big highlight that it was in central London and just all the opportunities and the life that comes with being in London. And also the fact that it was accredited was a big thing because I wanted to keep the option open if I wanted to go into the clinical side of things, then having that accreditation always helps.
Great.
Yeah.
So I mean, you've studied a lot of things in the last year generally, but I think it might be nice to maybe ask you about your master's project. Could you tell us a bit about what you did for your master's project and how that went?
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely my favorite part of the degree in general. And my project itself it was in the realm of radiotherapy, but specifically looking at proton therapy. And it was essentially the aim of it was to democratize or reduce the cost of proton therapy by optimizing treatment system requirements, which basically means we proposed a lower energy alternative to proton therapy, and then my job was to sort of using treatment planning show kind of use treatment planning to show proof of concept. And we looked at prostate cancer mainly as an example to show whether a lower energy proton therapy machine can treat it as well as a regular one, or maybe even better. And the outcomes were actually very promising. And in most cases, the treatment was actually better than it currently is. And yeah, overall it went really well. All the results were really great as well.
Good. And could you briefly explain what you're doing right now? Because I know the answer, but yeah, for everyone
Yeah.
else.
So yeah, right now I finished in August, September, and currently I'm doing a research assistant position within the department. But at the same time, I'm also it isn't very long term, so I'm also looking at PhD positions and also research opportunities in industry. So I'm kind of considering both and keeping an eye out for both of them.
Great. Okay. Thanks. Do you have any other highlights from the course that you think you could recommend for students who are joining us?
Um, I think like in general, all of the modules themselves are really interesting, and I think like the coursework were some of my favorite parts because it really gave that was the I really enjoyed that bit because it gave like a real taster of what it's like to do research in that field or work in that field. But I think as a whole, the medical device course was very interesting because it gave you like um, a sort of outside world view of research or of medical physics or med tech uh, in general, because it's like we all often get like so engrossed in like the sciencey bits that we don't really think about the like how would you sell this, how would you market it, or who is it for, and how do you figure out whether what you're doing is actually for the right audience, things like that. So I think that was definitely very fun and gave me a lot of perspective.
Great. Would you mind briefly telling us what was your medical device that your group came up with? What did it do?
Um, so for our year, the theme was neurodegenerative diseases, so assistive devices for people with neurodegenerative diseases. And we made a sort of tracking cane that had like different kinds of trackers in it, like accelerometers and motion tracking and fall detection and step counts and things like that. And also audio and visual cues. So it's for people with Parkinson's often have like freeze of gait, so they stop. That while they're walking, they just stop. And one of the things that really helps is for them to have like a beating pattern or like a laser cue in front of them. So that helps them like sort of take the next step and keep that flow going and restart their movement again. So it had that, but then it also had like sort of step counts and things like that. So we had an aspect of it that was like we can share this data with clinicians so that their doctors can track their progress and they can also track their progress and see if they're doing better, has it gotten worse, things like that.
Hmm. Great. That sounds really
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much,
Yeah.
Vanshika.
Yeah.
I'll now open up. Perhaps I'll just cancel the presentation. Does anyone have any questions they would like to ask to any member of the team or to Vanshika generally as well? I don't know if people have already been answering in the chat. I might go through. If you've got any questions, you can either type it in the chat or in the Q&A section, I think, as well. I've got one already here, I can see. Okay, I'll start with that one. So the question, which is fairly common, I think, for some of our students, is for the physics and engineering and medicine, does the course qualify me for hospital medical physicists or engineering positions? And the answer to that is that it is part of the qualification. If you want to be, Rob mentioned the clinical scientist in the accreditation that's required for that. So to be a clinical scientist here in the UK, there's two parts. You need an academic component, which is a postgraduate degree, which ours counts as, and then you also need an on-the-job portfolio of experiences and competences that you do basically working in the hospital. You build up the skills. So if you want to be a radiotherapy planner, then you need to build up the various skills to do that job at the same time. And that is on the job training that then you put together. And at the end of it, combined with your master's, you end up registered as a clinical scientist. What our master's does do is it allows you to apply for the trainee positions that are available there. It makes it and then you don't need to do your master's afterwards as well. So there is another route for a UK government training scheme, which is called the STP, Scientific Training Program, that does it all for you. But there are a limited number of places, and so the masters, it's much more common for most people to do what's called Route 2, which is what I've just described, where you essentially do it yourself. You get your master's degree, you work as a trainee in the hospital, and you build up your portfolio, and then register at the end as a clinical scientist once you've met all the standards. Um, Great. Next question. Do you accept PTP graduates, so BSc Healthcare Science, Radiotherapy Physics? Um, yes, it depends really, I would say. So absolutely we do. From the sort of more medical and the technological fields, we accept students. The important thing to note for any of our programs in the department really is that they are physics and engineering focused. So you need to be able to handle the mathematical parts of the course. In order to study. So if you've got no mathematical experience, if you've not done any maths since GCSE or school, then it's unlikely you're going to be able to finish it. However, you don't need necessarily to have a full maths degree or physics degree level of understanding. We are much more in the applied field in terms of problem solving. There's not really endless derivations as part of our program that you might find in an undergrad physics degree. But there is a good amount of mathematical problem solving in any of the subjects, and that includes the computing as well at the same time. So, yes is the answer, as long as you can justify in your application that you're going to be comfortable with the mathematical problem solving stuff. If you want some specifics on that, feel free to email us afterwards and we can discuss it as well. So, question in the chat. I am a clinical scientist in another modality of medical physics and clinical engineering, but I still want to learn more about radiotherapy physics. Is this suitable still? I have a fully computer science background. Um, so was that person interested? Which program are you interested in? I suppose that might be something of interest to Ben on the computational cancer. You would almost certainly be eligible for that as a starting point. Ben, could you say? Um,
Yes. So actually, it was partly in response to the previous question as well. So the computational cancer course is designed so it has a route in for people with a life sciences background who are computationally interested. Because it's interdisciplinary, we're training in both domains. So if you come from a more computing background, you're going to get a lot of new material on cancer research, cancer background to bring you up to speed there, whilst you're also continuing the computational courses. At the same time, if you've got a more life sciences background, you may have encountered some aspects of the cancer biology that you could encounter in the course before, but you can engage with AI, you can engage with the data handling, the data science, the computational modeling in the course still through the structure. So there are options for a variety of different backgrounds. I think the key thing is you've got to be able to when you come to us, you've got to have a clear interest in the other domain, whatever your original background is. So yes, absolutely.
I think that's very similar as well for I can see you've asked, yeah, the distance learning version of physics and engineering and medicine. That's similar as well. As long as for people with a computer science background, we are used, this is true of many master's degrees really, is it's a converting thing. So someone might have learned a general subject, maybe computer science, or maybe just physics, or maybe just general engineering, and we're specializing you in the area. So we're very used to building people up from those bits by giving them the skills at the start of the module. So if you're a computer scientist, hopefully you've got something like physics A level, but a lot of the fundamental physics that you teach as part of the physics and engineering and medicine course is taught in the individual modules. IPEM, our accreditors, have recognized that as well. So that is one of the foundational physics, which is one of their criteria. We teach as core in each of our modules, basically, and that is pretty much the case elsewhere as well. Although for some of the programs, I think Andre might be able to confirm this, or Evans, that there is a certain minimum level of programming skill required for those two programs. Andre or Evans, would you be able to confirm, like, what's the entry criteria for on prerequisites for your programs?
Yeah, for AI and medical imaging, we do require that you have experience in programming. One language, I mean, as we know, programming languages are quite transferable. So if you haven't had, an official module in your undergrad that states programming and introduction to programming, for instance, then at least, in your applications, you should show maybe that you've had project experience so that you actually coded something. This could be by, including a link to your GitHub repository, where something you've been working on. So although we have a module that, introduces coding in the context of medical imaging, I think it's a very steep learning curve if you have no experience. So it's really, it's essential that you're experienced with, some programming language.
Evans, would you like to just comment on the medical robotics, perhaps? Yeah.
Yeah, so effectively, modern robotics and AI are coded in Python. So prior exposure to Python or prior exposure to programming is essential for our medical robotics and AI program. In very similarly to what Andre mentioned, if it is not through taught modules, then experience can be demonstrated via projects. So if you could share a GitHub link, that is very helpful. Or if you taken part to one of these online challenges with open source data, for example, if you have a Kaggle submission, then you can share that as well.
Great. And then finally, since we've talked to everyone else, Henry, would you perhaps be able to talk about like what sort of prerequisites are needed either in programming or engineering aspects for the biomedical engineering medical imaging route?
There we go. So the biomedical engineering and medical imaging route accepts students from a flexible range of backgrounds. We don't expect any particular knowledge of computer programming. What we do expect, as Billy explained, is mathematical ability and a clear aptitude and some training in mathematics. Not necessarily fully to undergraduate level, so as Billy explained, not fully to the level of an undergraduate physics or mathematics degree, but the typical mathematics that an engineer might be expected to know. We accept students from backgrounds including engineering, but also including allied subjects, including biological sciences, neuroscience, and other subjects, as long as you can demonstrate your mathematical ability in an application.
Great. And then finally, just to round this off, I think I would say that we're looking for enthusiasm from you for the subjects in your applications. So we're looking for your interest, hopefully that's showing that you're going to commit to the course and that you've got some future plan from it is ideal as well, but not necessarily that. But we're really looking for your personal enthusiasm for the subjects. Uh, as I say, it's very common in a master's for people to convert to a new subject, and we are one of those subjects that people like to convert to. So you don't need to have all the skills before you come. The master's is designed to train you up in some of these as well. Does anyone else have any other questions? Great. Okay, I can't see any more questions coming in, and we're slightly over our time now. So I'll just say thank you, everyone, for attending today, and thank you for all the panelists for speaking and answering the questions. If you've got any further questions about the programs, yeah, I recommend having a look on our department website. There's also the prospectus. If you've got specific questions, you can email the email address there, which is, I think, the medphys.teaching email address that will be worked through the admissions tutors to each of the program leads as needed as well. But very nice to speak to you today, and we look forward to seeing hopefully applications from many of you in the coming year. Thank you. Bye, everyone.